So I think you're in for a treat with this panel that's assembled on learning to read and what we've learned from research. And what we're going to do is I'm going to let each speaker really tell you a little bit about themselves and delve into a question with each speaker. So our first panelist, Erin Schryer, Dr. Erin Schryer, is going to introduce herself. And then, Erin, I think that's something I didn't have a chance to get into, and you're seeing work on the ground level in the classrooms for children and in schools, is that early screening process that was really important to the Ontario Human Rights Commission to comment. So I thought maybe you could tell us a bit more about kind of what that looks like, how that works for children in the classroom in the school.
Okay, thank you. So talk here, right? Paul?
Yes.
Everybody can hear me okay? Okay. Thank you so much for being here. And Jamie, my head is just spinning after your presentation, and I have all these crazy notes that I probably won't even take a look at. My name is Erin Schryer, and I actually come from the field of early education. So I own and operate early learning centers in the St. John area of New Brunswick and Quispamsis. Have 5 centers, and then with all the things that COVID brought along, ended up now with a small independent school. And so we have about 75 students where I think, and I'll leave it at that right now, in contrast to balanced literacy methods, we use structured literacy methods, and there may be some questions around definitions there. There's really no great agreed upon definition of balanced literacy, but I think, you know, the biggest thing is when we're talking about the cueing system. And so for me, just for ease of and time this morning, I will contrast that with structured literacy methods where we're not using the cueing system to underlie anything we do. And so I'm kind of in a unique position where structured literacy methods are really all I know, fairly self-taught as a master's and doctorate student from the research literature. That's really where everything came for me. And so it was when then I kind of came out of school and started working alongside schools. I was the executive director of a not-for-profit organization for 5 years in the province, offering tutoring programs to schools, is really when I started to realize, like, what's going on? What are these programs, and what are these theories? And so it, as an impatient person, I look back and I'm a little sad that it took me so long to figure out what was going on. But certainly we're here today, and you know, we're seeing the turn of the tides in New Brunswick. We certainly are. I know here in Nova Scotia, and of course in Ontario with the right to read. Screening for us really underpins everything we do. And I remember as a master's student actually asking the question, if we're not basing our instruction on data, then what? I was really perplexed, honestly, as a student, and not coming from a Bachelor of Education. So I will say I came from a psychology background into a Master's of Education program, but really was perplexed at, you know, if you're not gathering data, whether it's quantitative or qualitative, you know, what are you basing your instruction on? So for us at Origins Academy is the name of our school. Screening is everything. So we use DIBELS, the Dynamic Indicators of Basic Early Literacy Success. It's a screening measure that, you know, every September we are all very eager to all hands on deck to administer, so that we know what our children know. You know, that's I think the most important thing in the role as educators is, what does this child know? What does he or she need to learn next, and how am I going to get them there? And so for us, you know, that screening measure provides that data. If there's questions, I can talk a little bit more to DIBELS. I am infamous for really not having a sense of time, so I couldn't tell you right now if I've been speaking for 2 minutes or 6. So I usually err on the side of caution to be brief, but we'll kind of see where the panel goes. But really just that screening gives you that data to plan your instruction, right? So you know who the children are in front of you, you know what they know, you know what the gaps are. Jamie, you spoke about systematic instruction. You know, across reading, we do move from the easiest to the most complex concepts. And that actually holds for math and science. I've been learning along the way. But so we need to know, do these children know these most basic concepts? And you just cannot move on until you know that they know that they've mastered it. I often speak about the foundation of a house. And if there's cracks in that foundation, it eventually will fall. And I think that's what we see at grade 3, right? When we see so many students start to falter and it's, they don't really know how to read. And so for us, this screening process is really essential. We progress monitor, we benchmark, we are collecting data formally every 6 to 8 weeks using DIBELS, but that of course is in addition to classroom-based data, to qualitative data, to reading with children and getting a sense of where their strengths and where their weaknesses and where as teachers we need to go next. You're monitoring the response to your instruction, right? It's my job to make sure that these children are learning these things, so I'm checking my own work by administering screening measures as well, right? I'm seeing, I've taught this, does the student now know this? It tells the story, it really does. And for any of you, I think we all take students at all times of the year. They're not always, with us the whole time, K to 5 or K to 8. And so it tells the story of, again, what they know, where the gaps are, and what you need to teach them next. So for us, screening is just absolutely essential. It really informs everything that we do, and without it, I personally would be completely lost. And so DIBELS has been rebranded. I don't know all the details. Acadience. If some of you have heard of Acadience, so we're talking about the same thing. The beautiful thing, especially in New Brunswick, is Acadience is available in French as well. So, and I'm certain there's French immersion programs here in Nova Scotia and Ontario. So wanted to mention that as well. And with that, I will just pause so that I don't take all the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Erin. And we'll try to leave time today so that we have time to ask, you'll have time to ask our panelists some questions. We're next going to hear from Sarah Arnold, founder of Halifax Learning. And as many of you will know, Halifax Learning has taught so many students in Nova Scotia how to read and be successful at the reading process. And so, Sarah, I wanted to ask you a little bit about, with this very powerful evidence-based approach, how do you see kind of Halifax Learning supporting the Tier 2 interventions in Nova Scotia and beyond? I know you've been doing some work as well in Ontario with some school boards, so if we could hear about that.
Sounds great. Thank you, Dr. Metsala. So thank you for having me today. My name is Sarah Arnold, and I'm with Halifax Learning Spell Read. And thanks for the question, Dr. Metsala. I have a little bit of a script here, so I'm gonna stick pretty close to my script and just kind of roll through it. In my time today, I'd like to talk a little bit about my experience with learning to read, a little bit about the founder of Halifax Learning.
Excuse me, can you speak up?
Can you hear me?
Please.
Sorry, I have a little, nothing COVID-y, but just a little. Can you hear me okay? My voice is a little low. It's better? Okay. So, and then I would love to jump into Tier 2 and how we can help support the rollout of Tier 2 here in the province and beyond. Is that better? Okay, great. So, and essentially, I would like us all to leave here today excited and energized about the fact that we can do better for our kiddos, right? We've got the science, it's there, and we've got the means, and now is the time for us to act, absolutely. So just a quick little